Think you'll hear from Will?
No, but I love Will. I love Will and I love Chris.
Please don't make this any harder than it already is.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I see your lips moving, but there's a delay.
Hollywood's biggest names are throwing punches, but not on screen. Eddie Murphy, Jim Carrey, and Will Smith are caught in a fiery comedic showdown that has everyone talking. Eddie recently dropped a joke about that infamous Oscars moment, and Jim Carrey followed it up with some brutal truths. What happens when legends clash and the past refuses to stay buried? Let's dive into the juiciest details of this Hollywood feud that's turning the Walk of Fame into a battlefield. Eddie Murphy isn't just a comedic legend, he's a master at turning controversy into comedy gold. During his acceptance speech for the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the Golden Globes, Eddie ended his speech with a blueprint for success. It started off serious but ended with a punchline that stunned the room. Keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth.
I want to let you know that there is a definitive blueprint that you can follow to achieve success, prosperity, longevity, and peace of mind. It's a blueprint, and I followed it my whole career. It's very simple. It's three things. You just do these three things. Pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name mouth.
The joke sent the audience into fits of laughter, but it also brought back one of the most polarizing moments in recent Hollywood history, Will Smith's slap at the Oscars. It's been over a year since Will shocked the world by slapping Chris Rock after a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, a hairstyle tied to her battle with alopecia. While some people have moved on, others, including Eddie Murphy and Jim Carrey, are keeping the conversation alive in their own way. Eddie's joke was a lighthearted jab, but Jim Carrey's critique was much more serious. After the Oscars incident, Jim didn't mince words. He called the standing ovation for Will's Best Actor win spineless and said he'd have sued Will Smith for $200 million. These comments fueled a fresh wave of debate about the incident, placing Will Smith back in an uncomfortable spotlight. Eddie, however, appears to have taken a different route, using humor to address the situation. When asked backstage if he had spoken to Will or Chris since the Oscars, Eddie diplomatically said, "I love them both."
No, but I love Will. I love Will and I love Chris.
But his joke suggests he's willing to playfully revisit the incident. The response hasn't been as playful from Will Smith. Insiders say that Will was deeply upset by Eddie's Golden Globes joke, seeing it as an unnecessary dig at a time when he's already working to move past the fallout. Will has made public apologies and worked hard to rebuild his reputation, but Eddie's comments and the resurgence of the Oscars incident make it clear that the story is far from over. Meanwhile, Jim Carrey's unfiltered comments have reignited the debate over how Hollywood handles moments like these. His criticism of the standing ovation and his blunt perspective on Will's behavior add another layer of complexity to the narrative. For comedians like Eddie and Jim, humor and honesty often go hand in hand, but Will's reaction shows that not everyone views these moments the same way. Eddie Murphy's approach highlights the delicate balance between using humor to diffuse tension and navigating real emotions in public disputes. For Eddie, the Golden Globes moment was another opportunity to showcase his comedic chops. But for Will, it might have felt like yet another reminder of a mistake he's trying to move on from. As the drama unfolds, it's clear that this isn't just about one joke or one moment. It's a clash of perspectives between Hollywood icons, each dealing with the pressure of public scrutiny in their own way. Eddie's humor, Jim's candor, and Will's struggle for redemption paint a fascinating picture of how fame and controversy intersect. So, what's next in this Hollywood triangle? With Eddie and Jim keeping the comedic jabs coming and Will still working to regain his footing, this story is far from over. Will Smith's journey to redemption is anything but smooth, and every new comment or joke adds another layer to the tension. Eddie Murphy's Golden Globes joke wasn't just a moment of comedic brilliance, it was a reflection of a broader pattern in Hollywood, where humor often becomes the vehicle for addressing even the most serious controversies. For decades, comedians like Eddie and Jim have used their platforms to not only entertain but also critique, diffuse tension, or provoke thought. In this case, the joke about Will Smith isn't just a one-liner, it's a commentary on how Hollywood, and by extension the public, processes moments of conflict and humanity among its stars. But what makes Eddie's joke resonate more deeply is the timing. The Oscar slap may have been over a year ago, but its impact is still rippling through the industry. For many, it marked a moment when the polished facade of Hollywood cracked, revealing the raw emotional undercurrents that its stars often suppress. Eddie, by highlighting this in such a public and playful way, reminded everyone of the delicate balance between vulnerability and control that celebrities must navigate. What's fascinating is how this story has drawn in other big names as well. Jim Carrey, for example, has been known for his unfiltered honesty throughout his career. His sharp critique of the standing ovation for Will Smith wasn't just about that moment. It was a broader critique of what he sees as Hollywood's reluctance to hold its own accountable. By calling the applause spineless, Jim wasn't just criticizing Will, but also pointing a finger at an industry that, in his view, often prioritizes appearances over principles.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless.
And yet, Eddie's approach couldn't be more different. Instead of condemning, he leaned into humor. Some might say that's the role of comedians, to take even the most controversial moments and turn them into something we can laugh about. But humor, as lighthearted as it may seem, is often deeply layered. Eddie's joke may have been a playful jab, but it also carried weight. It reminded everyone that no one, not even a star as big as Will Smith, is immune to scrutiny. Interestingly, Will's response, or lack of one, speaks volumes about the weight he still carries from that fateful Oscars night. While he has publicly apologized to Chris Rock and the wider public, it's clear that he's still trying to navigate a landscape where his every move is analyzed and debated. For someone as celebrated as Will, who has spent decades building a career marked by charisma and likability, the slap was a moment that shattered that image for many fans, and rebuilding that trust, as Will seems to be learning, is a slow and often painful process. The public's reaction to Eddie and Jim's comments also highlights the shifting dynamics of celebrity culture. Fans today aren't just passive observers, they're active participants in shaping narratives. Social media in particular has given everyone a voice, turning what might have been a fleeting moment in past decades into an enduring topic of discussion. The Oscars slap and the jokes and critiques that followed have become part of a larger conversation about how society views accountability, forgiveness, and even comedy itself. Eddie's joke also reignited another debate. When is it okay to joke about serious issues? For some, humor is a way to heal, a way to process events that are otherwise difficult to talk about. For others, especially those directly involved, jokes can feel like salt in a wound. This tension is at the heart of the current discourse surrounding Eddie's comments. Was his joke simply a harmless laugh, or did it cross a line? Meanwhile, Chris Rock has remained relatively quiet about the incident, choosing to address it briefly during his stand-up specials. His decision to speak through his comedy, rather than in interviews or public statements, mirrors Eddie's approach in many ways. It's a reminder that for comedians, the stage is not just a place for entertainment, but also a space for catharsis and commentary. As for Will, the weight of public scrutiny has undoubtedly affected his personal and professional life. While he has continued to work on various projects, the shadow of that night looms large over his career. Even his apology, which many found heartfelt, hasn't been enough to fully mend his public image. The resurgence of jokes and critiques from comedians like Eddie and Jim only underscores how difficult it can be to escape the past in an industry that thrives on storytelling, even when that story is unflattering. What's even more compelling is how this incident has sparked broader conversations about Hollywood's culture. The slap wasn't just about Will and Chris, it became a symbol of something bigger. It forced people to confront questions about violence, masculinity, and what it means to be a role model. And as Eddie and Jim have shown, these conversations aren't going away anytime soon. This brings us to the role of comedy in these moments. Eddie Murphy's joke was undeniably funny, but it also served as a reminder of the power of humor to both entertain and provoke thought. Comedy at its best can be a mirror, reflecting society's flaws and forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths. In this case, the joke wasn't just about Will Smith. It was about how we as a society respond to conflict, accountability, and forgiveness. And yet, for all the humor and commentary, there's still a very human element to this story. Will Smith, Eddie Murphy, and Jim Carrey are not just larger-than-life figures, they're people, each dealing with their own emotions, mistakes, and legacies. The Oscars slap may have been a shocking moment, but it was also a deeply human one. It showed that even the most polished stars can have raw, unfiltered reactions. As the dust continues to settle, one thing is clear: the story isn't over. Eddie's joke, Jim's critique, and Will's ongoing journey of redemption are all part of a larger narrative about fame, accountability, and the complexities of being in the public eye. Whether this chapter ends in reconciliation or continues to fuel debates remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: Hollywood loves a comeback story, and Will Smith is working hard to write his own. For now, the spotlight remains on Eddie, Jim, and Will, each navigating the fallout in their own way. The question is, where does this story go from here? Will it fade into the background as new controversies emerge, or will it continue to spark debates about the intersection of comedy, conflict, and accountability? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: Hollywood is watching, and so are we. As the drama surrounding Eddie Murphy's joke and Will Smith's slap continues to simmer, it raises an important question: how does a public figure truly recover from a moment that defines them in the eyes of millions? For Will, the incident was more than just an emotional outburst. It was a pivotal point in his career, one that forced him to reassess not only his public persona, but also his personal values and relationships. To understand the depth of this challenge, it's worth reflecting on the immense pressure celebrities face. For decades, Will Smith has been known as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars.
Putting your seatbelt on. Yeah, that's how we do it now. Right. Whoa, Mike. All the town's a no-go. That's why you got people here. Dangerous people. We're dangerous people.
A man whose charisma and charm have carried him through blockbuster films.
I follow you also. I follow you on Instagram as well, and you posted this was very sweet. I know genies don't have feet, but you left some big shoes to fill. Rest in peace, Robin. That must have been.
Yeah, it's a fan art. A fan made that, man.
Really? Chart-topping music and a reputation as a family man. But with the slap, that carefully constructed image cracked, revealing the complexity beneath the surface. In contrast, Eddie Murphy and Jim Carrey seem to thrive in the unpredictability of their public personas. Eddie's career, spanning comedy, film, and music, has been marked by his ability to adapt and evolve.
Y'all make Bill give his back? No, because I know there was a big outcry from people. They was trying to get Bill to give his trophies back. You know you f***ed up when they want you to give your trophies back. Trophy back too?
His Golden Globes joke was vintage Eddie, irreverent, sharp, and perfectly timed. For Jim, the slap incident offered another opportunity to showcase his unapologetically candid approach to life in Hollywood. These two comedy giants seem almost impervious to public backlash, using humor as both a shield and a weapon. Will, on the other hand, has taken a more introspective path. Since the Oscars, he has largely stayed out of the limelight, focusing on projects that align with his values and speaking about personal growth. His interviews and public statements suggest a man who is genuinely remorseful and eager to learn from his mistakes. But in an industry as unforgiving as Hollywood, good intentions often aren't enough. Eddie's joke at the Golden Globes brought all these dynamics back into focus. It was a reminder of how quickly the tide can turn in Hollywood, and how public figures must navigate a minefield of expectations, criticism, and media scrutiny. For Eddie, it was just another joke in a long career of pushing boundaries. For Will, it was another obstacle in his journey toward redemption. Interestingly, the reaction from the public has been divided. Some have applauded Eddie for his humor and his ability to address a serious moment with levity. Others have criticized him for reopening wounds and taking a jab at someone who is already under immense pressure. This polarization reflects a broader trend in how audiences engage with celebrity culture today. Social media in particular has amplified these debates, creating an environment where every comment, joke, or statement is dissected and debated in real time.
Don't make this any harder than it already is.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I see your lips moving, but there's a delay. Takes a long time for the sound to get this far.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
For Will, this means that even as he tries to move forward, the conversation keeps pulling him back to that night. For Eddie and Jim, it means their words carry even more weight as they shape the narrative in ways that resonate far beyond their immediate audience. What makes this situation even more compelling is the way it highlights the intersection of comedy and conflict. Comedy has always been a tool for addressing uncomfortable truths, but it's also a delicate art form. The line between a joke that provokes thought and one that provokes outrage is thin, and comedians often find themselves walking that line with every punchline they deliver. Eddie's joke, for all its humor, wasn't just about Will Smith. It was a commentary on the absurdity of the moment, the way Hollywood reacts to controversy, and perhaps even the nature of fame itself. It was a reminder that in a world as unpredictable as show business, nothing is off limits, not even the most shocking moments. For Will, the challenge now is not just to rebuild his reputation, but to reclaim the narrative. He has shown glimpses of his ability to do so through thoughtful interviews.
With the music, I had him grab, there's a song, The Friend Like Me, You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me.
Absolutely.
So when we went in, I had him grab the Impeach the President by the Honey Drippers, and he used the drums off of the Impeach the... Right, yeah, standard old school. Well, Alibaba, he had them 40 thieves. Shahrazad, he had 1,000 tails. But master, you're in luck, because up your sleeve, you got a brand of magic never fails.
And heartfelt apologies, but the road ahead is long and filled with obstacles. Each new joke, critique, or resurfaced rumor serves as a reminder of the weight he carries, making it clear that moving on is easier said than done. And then there's Chris Rock, the other central figure in this saga. While Chris has largely chosen to address the incident through his stand-up routines, his approach raises its own questions. Is humor a way to heal, or is it a way to avoid deeper conversations? For Chris, as for Eddie and Jim, comedy is a coping mechanism, a way to take control of the narrative and turn a moment of vulnerability into a moment of strength. As the story unfolds, it's clear that this is about more than just one joke or one slap. It's about how we as a society engage with conflict, accountability, and the humanity of those in the spotlight. Eddie Murphy's joke may have been the spark, but the fire it reignited is one that touches on issues far beyond the Golden Globes or the Oscars. What does redemption look like in an age where every mistake is immortalized online? How do comedians balance the need for humor with the responsibility of navigating sensitive topics? And what does it say about us as an audience that we continue to dissect and debate these moments long after the cameras have stopped rolling? Eddie, Jim, and Will each offer a different perspective on these questions, and their responses reflect the broader complexities of fame, forgiveness, and the power of storytelling. As the public continues to watch, analyze, and react, one thing is certain: this story, like Hollywood itself, is full of twists, turns, and unexpected revelations. The only question now is, what will the next chapter bring? Will Eddie double down on his comedic approach, or will he take a step back? Will Jim continue to speak his mind no matter the backlash? And most importantly, how will Will Smith navigate a path forward that feels authentic and true to who he is? Is this the beginning of a feud that reshapes Hollywood's biggest stars, or will the drama finally settle? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching. Check out our other videos, dive deeper, stay curious, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to never miss an update. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, inside out.